pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have our minutes for our Whitley County Council meeting on February the 7th. Any additions, corrections?
I make a move that we approve them as presented.
I'll second. I'll abstain because I wasn't here.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor signify by your right hand. April, you're first up on the agenda.
I would just like to request your permission to spend money from my identification fund. That fund is established to protect Social Security numbers from being available to the public. It's not from the perpetuation fund. It's the first quarter of the microfilm that I sent to Fiddler. The first 1/4 of the payment. So we will have, I think that's for $7,000, it'll be like $28,000 total. There's not enough in that fund, but I thought if I could at least pay the initial out of that, then I'll have to pay the rest out of the perpetuation fund.
When will that come due? April?
As they do the work, they'll charge us for it. It'll probably take a few months for all of it to be developed.
So this is to get us from 1973 to 1989?
Correct, that'll be all of the microfilm.
And do you have enough money, do you foresee collecting that much for their 4 installments?
Not in that fund, I'll have to pay the rest out of perpetuation.
Yeah.
It's in the perpetuation fund, yes.
I move we allow that request.
Second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by your right hand. Those opposed, the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is a request for additional appropriations for 2012.
It wasn't really for additional appropriations, it's just that there was no appropriations at all made out of the rainy day, and the State Board of Accounts wanted us to go back. It was a request last year. So I took the end of the year balances of what we'd used out and gave them what was paid out of rainy day, and that's what you'll see. Sick time payout was at $25,000, group insurance $900, and miscellaneous expense was $150, and that's how I advertised it to be presented to you.
Jenny, isn't group insurance a line item in the commissioner's budget?
Group insurance, no. So
So you've been paying on a rainy day? Well, Kim and I was talking, we always thought that was line item, I guess.
Are you thinking star insurance, like liability?
No, I was thinking group had a
Are
line
you sure
item.
there wasn't a line item in the commissioner's budget for that?
Not in the last 2 years I've been up there involved in it.
So this rainy day fund, it just makes me nervous to think that we're not allocating for this within the budget somewhere, and that we're just paying it out of the rainy day. What's in the $150,000 miscellaneous expense? What is that?
I don't know, I'd have to print a report. I gave you guys a report last meeting so we could talk about it.
Ron, do you know, is this the total 900 that we pay a year? Do we get some credit for being, I don't know how to say it,
Yes.
not abusing the
Yes.
thing? We get some credit and maybe pays a premium or two?
Yep.
Still does that?
I don't know what that's called, but yep, it seems like every year they come and say, we want to roll this over.
But we
Not-
get
not
maybe
making
like a
premium.
month or two's premium usually.
That's what it
paid.
seems like to me. That's a recollection I have, so.
It's out of the trust, is what you're thinking, Jim.
Yeah.
Out of the trust,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's out of the trust account. And the group insurance, if you still have your pages from last meeting, the amount paid out for the group insurance through 12/31 and 2011 were $802,245, and hopefully with the elimination of spouses that just started in August of last year. If I remember when we implemented that, the monthly payments went from like 80-some thousand a month down to like 60-some. So I foresee that being a lot less this year possibly than we have on there for appropriation.
Before you get real excited, and I don't know that you know this, there may be a couple very large expenses coming out of insurance this year, so before you bank on this savings, I don't know.
This sick time payout, that's already been paid? That's already been paid out to people, or?
Sick time payout is the discussion we had last time when I gave you the report of how much people have banked if they leave the
Oh, I
county.
see. So that's not necessarily gonna be spent unless they retire, or?
Well, we have enough right now that's probably gonna pay all that out. That's why we bumped it from the 20 up to 25, because we know of at least 2 big employees off the list that I gave you that are going to retire.
I kind of agree with Paul. Is there a way that we can, if that's not the group insurance is not a line item in the commissioner's budget, I feel that it ought to be a line item someplace.
Okay. And then,
I think that's a pretty good hit for the rainy day fund, and I need to know more about that miscellaneous expense.
well, let's, I can itemize the miscellaneous expenses and see where we actually, what was actually paid out. Like it'll say to, you know, such and such and such and such, how we came up to that amount of what we put in there.
Okay, and on this too, the location budget sheet you gave us, printed as of 2/27/2012. There is a line item on the second page, second line item down, 17300 group insurance, where 210,000 was the original appropriation.
What are you looking at, Paula? The fund?
Which
Yeah.
number?
Is that the new one or the old one?
The one that we just got.
What page you on, Paula?
Page 2, second line item down, titled group insurance, right underneath BURP. So I'm just wondering, you know, this appears to be a line item.
I'm lost. What, this that I gave you this morning?
You got the old one, don't you?
It was the one sent out in our packet,
Yeah, that's the old one.
but it was in the old one.
Yeah, but it's not page 2 in the new one.
Okay, refer to your old.
It was in your,
I don't have that marker over there.
Here,
I got it right here. You want to see it? Sure do.
What was the fund number again, Paul?
Oh, Paula, you're looking at just the highways budget, by the way.
oh.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
So they do go in a line item, but the rest of the county employees don't?
Right, they pay their own per, and then.
Their own insurance, because it's titled group insurance.
Right, and it's group insurance for just the highway. Look right here.
Yeah.
You're looking at.
Okay, I see it.
You're looking at, yeah, sorry, I was very confused.
It's just a high moment.
Do you want me to go back a couple years and see if it was ever paid out anywhere else? Past 2010?
Well, at one
20
time, you know, we didn't have rainy day fund, so I mean, at one time it had to be a line item, and I don't know, maybe at that time it was, I don't know, I guess I still don't know.
I can refresh my memory a little on that. I think a few years ago, we did that to keep it off of the line item, to keep it out of the tax rate. Then several years ago.
Jen, maybe if you could, like, just go back and get some kind of history on that.
I'll get what was actually paid out in group insurance for the last 4 or 5 years and where it was funded out of. Just put it in you guys' packet or shoot it out as an email or something for you guys. Cause I don't, beyond the 2 years that I paid attention to it.
So if we want to wait for more information on this before approving the additional appropriation, does that put you in any kind of crunch?
No, not really, cause it's been advertised, so once it's advertised, you guys, and you can move that money wherever. So if I go ahead and give you a report on the miscellaneous expense, then I can tell you what we expensed out of there. But the only reason I put it high at 150 is because I didn't wanna go to the paper every time we wanted to spend money out of rainy day. Spend the extra $30 or $40 to advertise twice. So if you keep it high, they say you don't have to do that as long as you don't go over the 150.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this until the next meeting.
I'll second that. Motion, any further discussion?
Just give us a rough idea on that extra expense, where you think it might be.
We only spent 30 out of there last year. But I just, like I said, put it high, so we didn't have to go to the paper every day to spend some of it.
Any additional discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Those in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, the same.
Jenny, a question, you mentioned advertising. What are we obligated to do now on advertising?
As claims,
Like when you have to, you advertise like a meeting and, you know, you have the, what's gonna be, additional appropriations or whatever you have in the paper. What's our obligations on the advertising now?
we don't have to do the meetings, and those are what you call legal. Anytime we're gonna spend money outside of the original budget that you guys approved last year, be it salary changes, anything above what you guys approved. Then the other thing is big is the tax rates that's coming up. The county annual report is required to advertise twice.
But in what paper does it determine? It just has to be
Two papers, and depending on what.
Does it have to be the post and mail at the expense that is?
Yes, that's a
It has to be
daily.
in that one?
That's the one it has to be in. The other one I kind of choose between Tribune and the,
Churubusco
News. Yeah.
Well, I guess my point was that if it didn't need to be in the Columbia City, I'd avoid that high-priced advertising.
No, that's the one they want us to be in because it's a daily paper. That's the most important. So,
Don, I think it kind of changed that for the township trustees,
I
didn't it?
I was gonna tell you, I have to look, anytime Patty has something, I have to look it up, because it's gone from, it just depends.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's published 2 times in 2 paper, sometimes 1 time in 2 paper, sometimes 1 time in 1 paper. It used to be pretty much 2 times 2 papers.
Yeah.
That's just the way it was, 2 times 2 papers.
Now,
At the township level, that's changed.
you
so.
don't have the Tuesday paper.
no,
They would charge you more for that.
usually the Wednesday is what I try to because Wednesday also coordinates. with-
Wednesday's a great day because you
Churubusco.
catch South Whitley and Busco.
Mhm.
If
All
you
the same
advertise
day.
All
that
the
day,
same day.
you catch all 3 papers that day.
That's what I usually try for is Wednesday. That way I know if someone asks me a date, it's the same date for everything that's done. So,
Didn't we just do something yesterday that's gonna require I mean, that's
Yes.
the problem. We just did something yesterday that, oh no, we didn't. We were talking about that ordinance. We were talking about an ordinance that would involve the employee handbook.
but we still have to do the sheriff's sale.
Yeah, I know, but we was talking about that handbook thing. I said, no, forget that. We're not gonna deal with that because we'd have had to do it. But yeah, we did make a change yesterday. It'll have to be advertised, so. That's a good question, Jim. I wish there was a better answer.
Well, I didn't know whether
But
it
they've
was
taken away
obligated.
the claims and everything, which I thought was, not to be mean, but a waste of somewhat of, they've done that, so it's not like it's a weekly. But anytime we're gonna spend any more of the money, or change an ordinance like the sheriff's sale, or we're gonna charge people more, it has to be advertised and then the proof of publication has to be kept with the ordinance, so. And it's expensive. Oh, yeah, it's expensive. We had probably $700 in the county annual report. Just to let them know. I don't know how much people read that, but
They probably don't.
that's what's sad.
Anything else on additional appropriations?
Are you gonna talk about this, or you want me to say what you guys did? That was in there.
I hadn't had that down to talk about, so go ahead.
Paula Warden requested her money for the $25,000 out of, educational supplies from the commissioner's budget that was moved and approved in the budget. She, doesn't wanna use it so much for supplies as she does to be used for the wages of teachers and transportation officers. So the funding will go from the county general to 612 for the Troy Center funding to help out there. And it was approved by the commissioners to spend that money and give it to Paula to allocate out there. And that's all I had for additional changes in the budget line.
Just a transfer then, right?
Yeah, pretty much just going from county general out to the youth improvement, that 25,000.
It was a budgeted item, so, I mean, it wasn't, I mean, it's in the budget. They just wanted it now.
Yeah.
That's why I wasn't gonna bring it up, because it was just, something's already agreed on.
That's in the commissioner's budget.
Yep.
And they were changing it from being used for supplies, which I thought they wanted it for computers or books or something. But Paula says that's covered by some other grant. Talking to her, so they're gonna use it for wages and for transportation, people that are carrying the kids back and forth.
Do we need to do any action with the transfer? It's just an informational?
Right, that it is being used, and you changed it last year in the budget.
Our next agenda is salary request appropriations.